What is going on, YouTubeverse? John Stanek from Johnny Radio here, where we're always discovering and rediscovering great music, and I'm here to talk about my very first movie review on this channel because we're talking The Beatles Get Back, the 8+ hour, 3-part documentary directed by Peter Jackson, and I'm just going to say it is fantastic. I give this thing a 10 out of 10, A+, and if you haven't seen it yet, you may not want to watch this because I'm going to give some spoilers, but man, is it good. And Peter Jackson knocked it out of the park. Also, got to give credit to Michael Lindsay Hogg, the director of the Let It Be film, who without him, we wouldn't have the 52 hours of footage that was sifted through to begin with. So just amazing. And some of the stuff that we had never seen before, it's just, for a Beatles fan like myself, this was just heaven. I could have watched another 8 hours easily. For the casual Beatles fan or someone new to them, this may feel a bit tedious at times because this is the Beatles recording the Let It Be album, and some of the songs, hearing them over and over again because they go from Genesis, sometimes just literally creating the songs out of thin air, which is incredible to see. Like the song Get Back, Paul is just strumming away and coming up with words. And then, you know, they're doing it over and over again until they get it right. And sometimes that can feel a little laborious, but I could hear songs like Don't Let Me Down over and over again. That's one of my favorite songs of all time. And just to see the camaraderie of all four of these guys, it's like being transported back in time and like bringing John Lennon and George Harrison back to life. I mean, there were just so many emotional moments for me personally watching this thing. I mean, just seeing John and Paul having fun together was a highlight throughout. But even amidst the tension in episode 1, you know, it has the infamous George Harrison walkout when he feels like he's not being appreciated, and he says the line, you know, I'll play whatever you want me to play, whatever pleases you, to Paul, and storms out. There's still a lot of fun in episode 1. Even after George left, you know, it feels oddly tense, but then Yoko gets up there and does her screaming thing, and Paul's playing drums, and then just it feels like just madness, but they're letting their frustrations out in an artistic way, like all musicians do. And it's just so cool to see them in their element, even in Twickenham, where it seemed like it was destined for failure. Episode 2 especially gets just even more joyous when George returns. They kind of get back into their groove as a group, and then they bring in Billy Preston, the fifth Beatle, if you will, and he really brings the mood up a notch. Everyone's having a great time. Again, it's so great to see John and Paul just having so much fun, especially on the song Two of Us, when they're doing the whole thing like singing like through their teeth, like two of us riding, just hilarious. John especially perks up in episode 2. In episode 1, he was a lot more quiet, almost stoic, just sitting there with Yoko, which is kind of weird. But in episode 2, he really comes alive and is the fun John that we all know and love, cracking jokes at all times. And, you know, in episode 1, there's that moment, or actually I should say the beginning of episode 2, where it's just Paul and Ringo that return, and Paul's not even sure if John's going to show up. And really emotional moment when Paul is kind of speechless, and you see his eyes water up after he says, and then there were two. So a lot of drama, a lot of tension going on, but that leads to the joyous payoff of episode 2, where they're all kind of firing on all cylinders, getting the songs right. You know, you really feel, and that's the thing. It's like, for a Beatles purist, man, to be a fly on the wall, that's what it feels like throughout this whole thing. The other thing that's so cool that just blew my mind was them leaving a microphone in a flower pot to record John and Paul's discussion that they had no idea was being recorded. which was really something to hear, that dynamic of them, like Paul saying to John, like, you're the boss, but I'm kind of the second boss. And, you kind of really get the full story behind everything, because, you forget that Brian Epstein, their manager, had died a few years ago. So they had to kind of pick up the pieces and manage themselves, really. And Paul really was trying to steer the ship to the best that he possibly could do, but sometimes he ended up a little domineering, especially on songs like Two of Us, and I've Got a Feeling, the songs that he was the author of. He was trying to tell George what to do, and even John to some extent, who in that flower pot thing was kind of nicely telling him, like, you're doing this to all of us, but they got it together. And then, man, episode 3, when it gets to the rooftop, man, the payoff, as Paul calls it, it certainly is, because to see it in its entirety and see them really having fun up there, and then on top of that have the split screen to see the cops come, is so fun. Especially one of the unsung heroes of this film, their road manager, Mal Evans. He's hilariously just holding them off and saying, like, yeah, I'll turn the PA down. And then, of course, he doesn't. And then eventually the cops get up there, and it's just so fun to see George defiantly turn up his amp when the cops come, and Paul turn around and kind of smile, because he even said earlier it would be cool to have some kind of performance where they could, be drug off the stage, which almost happens. But yeah, it's just so great to see. I also love the interviews of the people down outside saying what they think of the Beatles, and it's just so fun. And I know I'm missing a ton of stuff, because look, it's 8 hours of stuff and there's not a dull moment throughout. Like, even the shots of Ringo making funny faces, or again, Mal Evans just like playing tambourine and playing on Maxwell's silver hammer. Also, there's so much stuff from Abbey Road that we get to see that they're working on. Songs like She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, when and John again having so much fun with it when Paul says, so I quit the police department, and John yells, "Get a job, cop!" And there's just all this fun, man. Them jamming on old Chuck Berry songs when they're getting bored with their own stuff. And, you forget that they were just not even 30 years old yet. They were still kids at this point, just having fun in the studio, and smoking a lot of cigarettes, or ciggies as I called them, eating nothing but toast and drinking wine or tea. I don't think they drank any water. It was like, man, can you guys take a little better care of yourselves? Also, George's wardrobe, he had like a puffy purple pirate shirt at one point. I'm like, man, the late 60s was a weird time to be alive, but I wish I was there. But, this film, it really feels like it brought you there. Like, it felt like you were hanging out with the Beatles for all this time, and I didn't want it to end, man. Even up till the end credits, when they got the last version of Let It Be that made it on the album. That was the other fun part. It was like we were calling out as we were watching the rooftop performance, like, oh, I think this is the album version. And then sure enough, Peter Jackson waits until about halfway through the song and says, the credits, this is the song that made it, the version that made the album. And, that was another fun thing. And then, it was so cool too to see them, again, a lot of people are saying this is rewriting history, because Let It Be seemed like such a dark, gloomy film, which of course it kind of was, just because it came out right after the breakup anyway. There was kind of no way around that. But to see all this footage, that 90% of it is them truly having fun. And I think John even says at one point when they're talking about the words behind a lot of these songs, he's like, it kind of feels like we're in love with each other, kind of joking around. But the truth is, this is kind of a love story between John and Paul especially. But, it's just a beautiful thing to see them, I was going to say, after the rooftop performance, all go down together in the studio and listen to everything right away. And you can see they're really enjoying what they had created, and just the whole creative process. I don't think there's another music documentary that really gets, again, from genesis of a song to the end process and what it takes to get a song correct. You know, sometimes it takes hard work, sometimes it takes some stormy walkouts and disagreements between a band, and this shows you everything, and it's just amazing. And for that reason alone, I think I would have to say this is the best music documentary of all time. I think this edges out even The Last Waltz by Martin Scorsese. As great as that film is, this just takes it to another level. And I think the 8-hour runtime is necessary for that to even be the case. But yeah, man, I could go on and on. There are just so many great moments in this movie, like seeing the Beatles cursing and smoking and just being themselves. You know, there's a moment where John is even telling like dirty jokes and making Paul crack up, and it's great, man. Everything about this, I could go on, and I'm going to stop there. Again, I give it a 10 out of 10. If you're a Beatles fan to any degree, you've got to see this thing. I'm ready to go watch it again, to be honest with you. I just need to carve out that time because it's a time commitment, but it's worth every second. So let me know in the comments below what you think. What were your favorite moments from this thing? I mean, it's almost impossible to pick a favorite moment, but just in general, seeing John and Paul just riff off of each other in the studio is just so fun. That does it for me. But let me know what you think, and let me know, you know, what would you grade this thing if you had to give it a grade? A 10 is almost not even enough. That's how I feel about this thing. I absolutely love it. Love the Beatles. And by the way, if you're new to this channel, we're in the midst of doing a top 100 Beatles song countdown that you guys have voted on. So be on the lookout for that. If you like that, like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, all that jazz. And we've got so much more content that is Beatles and just classic stuff related on this channel. So thank you so much for watching. And as always, Viva la vinyl. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and be sure to ring the bell for notifications so you can always see great quality content like you're seeing on the screen right now. Thank you so much for supporting Johnny Radio, and I'll see you soon.